Hey, what's up guys? Today I wanted to do a little bit of a leveling guide for Heroes Forge. So I've been experimenting quite a bit with just trying to figure out like how can I level up my characters in the quickest way possible. As you start to unlock heroes and you start wanting to get them to the end game, I was kind of toying around with different ideas like how can I get these guys to max level as quickly as possible. And so there's a couple different ways to do it, but I think that the way I've been doing it most recently, I'm most fond of. So I wanted to pass it on to you guys, and I'd love if you guys have other ideas or other ways of farming up your characters to kind of fill me in on how you do it. So like the first way I was doing it is I would do like a campaign, right? And right now, like level 9 of this, I believe I can clear. Like let's say I want to level. Um, Let's see. Let's say I want to level up my mage, right? Because that's one of the ones I need to go to 5 stars. My interceptor's done, but my shadow archer's not. So let's just throw in somebody just a little bit beefier. Bring in, say, the adjudicator, right? Now I can instant battle this, and I'll get about what is it going to be? Oh, I went too fast. Let's try that one more time. Oh, and that's one problem, right? You'll lose some of these, right? And you don't have any control. I could get like a lower level, but let's just keep. Okay, let's try this one more time. All right, so that's not great. So yeah, you got to play with it, right? So we'll go back a tiny bit. We were in Hermit's Pass here. Let's say we go back here and try this one. Okay, so we got to win. And out of that, we'll get about 869 XP, right? Not great. Um, let's actually go back to here. Now, in heroic mode, I don't think there's any of these I can actually clear. Just doing sims. Oh, actually, I can. Okay, so let's see what this does here. Okay, so that's about 2K, right? But the rewards are generally kind of right? You get some coins, you get some gear. Once in a while, you get a scroll, but for all intents and purposes, it's not really that. To me, that's not like grindy enough. It's not getting me like enough meat. And so, one of the things I had gotten recently, and this is part of it, but I've gotten this dungeon pass where I get 10 dungeon keys a day, and I get an extra 30% drop chance, which I thought was kind of interesting. And so when I went into the dungeon, what I would do is I'd actually kind of pick a tier where I could complete it first of all, because you can't auto these with tickets. And I'd also want it to be, so I'd want it to be fairly efficient. I'd want it to be able to drop better gear. So here we get, slightly better scrolls. These fall more often, I think, than in a regular campaign. I can get XP scrolls, and this is where this is really kind of important. I'll show you this and I'll show you why in a minute. And then you can also actually get legendary gear. So there's like some extra bonuses, and these things seem to fall way more often in the layer in the this is Dragon's Lair, but in the actual in the dungeons than they do in the actual campaign. So that's why I think it's important you kind of focus on the dungeon and you kind of work on your characters there. So that said, one of the things that a lot of people may miss when they first start the game is you start with Angel, but Lilim and Spectre are locked. And so I've slowly been kind of working through like Spectre to try to come up with like what talents I think are best for this game. Kind of done with this one, but I've still got a little ways to go. But then I said, let me take a look at Spectre one day. I was thinking about making a video on it, and I noticed this. So you get an additional 15% drop rate with your team. So it's better. It's another like drop in the thing. So another that I'm at the 45% drop rate. And then for a fairly reasonable price, you can come here to the store and you can pick up this consumable item called the Charm of Luck. So that increases your luck. There's another one called the Charm of Experience, which increases your experience. Now, I went ahead and tried this. Let's go ahead and pick one up. It's only 30 crystals. And so you'll buy that. You'll go into your inventory over here, and we will. Where are you? Where are you? Consume. Here we go. Charm of Luck. We'll use that. So you get 12 hours of a blessing. And now if we go back to our main screen, we've got our 30% drop chance here, our 30% drop chance there, and then I've got, if I use this Guardian, if I use Spectre, I get an additional 15%. So basically I'm up about 75% increased drop chance. So that's pretty good. I mean, most games wouldn't give you that kind of an advantage. Now, the caveat to it is, again, you want to pick a tier in the dungeons where you can be efficient and you want to be able to complete them reliably. So I just recently finished up another character. I just finished up. let's see, I just finished up Interceptor, right? And so she was sitting at 48, 49, so I was able to kind of go into like the 4th and 5th tier of this dungeon. But now that I'm done with her, I started working on my mage, and I'm also still leveling up my Shadow Archer. So now I'm kind of forced to go back a layer. So now I'm pretty comfortable at tier 3. So as you can see, what I try to do is pick kind of 2 good beefy characters that I know will be strong enough to push this thing, and then I'll go ahead and run the battle. Now, one of the key advantages of doing this, and I think is why it's a good way of farming, is you'll get pretty good experience for this. I'll show you at the end, but you also get the scrolls really, really often. And I think that's really where this shines. The experience in this mixed with the scroll, which is worth 10k, which is essentially actually 3 to 4 or 5 fights, is super valuable, and it's really let me kind of move characters really fast. I'd say before it'd take me about a week and a half to kind of push a character if I was pretty consistent with it. I'd say now 3-4 days you could push a character from the beginning all the way up to end. And the thing with Spectre is to get her to get those first 5 points into that talent, or whatever you want to call that. It's literally like a couple fights. The first 10 so levels go so quickly. It doesn't take hardly any time at all. And so as you can see, it won't even matter if these guys finish this event. All right, so the mage is probably gonna get burnt down here. That's fine. Really, Spectre's a kind of a not great a great guardian to have in these fights. She does debuffs, and it doesn't really work on bosses. Everything gets resisted. I think you can actually see it resist there, and so it's not optimal. But for farming, I think it's closer to optimal. She's simply there for the buff for the drops. So, and as you can see, even with this team, another problem, right? You can see my adjudicator stunned right now. Now, if I had one of the other characters as the guardians kind of behind me there, she could remove that buff or debuff, and then he could continue to fight. Fights take a little bit longer. They're a little bit more dicey, especially as you move up tiers. You kind of have to watch it. There would be times where I'd clear it 2 or 3 times, and all of a sudden I'm failing it. So then I'd kind of go back a tier until they got a few more levels. So they'll finish this up, and then there we go. We finished it up. So as you can see, in this case, I got the tokens for the legendary gear, and then the leveling, and then some gold. So that's actually a suboptimal round in my opinion. Typically, you'll get a scroll, or you'll get that thing to level up your characters, the experience tome. So let's take a look at what that looks like. When I look at my inventory now, you can see I've got 8 of these things, and I had none this morning. And so when you come to your characters and you start looking at leveling them up, not summoning them, when actually leveling them up. So I typically take the highest character and I push all the way to the end. If I start a character, I always try it. It's something I learned from Galaxy of Heroes. If you're gonna farm till the end. And so you can see, like doing this, I got a level there, and I'm probably fairly close to the next level. I don't know. Actually, got 2 levels there. Yeah, 2 levels there. Here's another quick tip too. Like if you're ever at level 49 and you're about to complete your character, one thing that will happen is sometimes you'll just start clicking scrolls because you want to get it done. But one thing I've learned is, okay, 2 scrolls will put me into level 34. It may be better for me to take a couple of these guys as food to take me to level 34. So I use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters to get me there versus that scroll. So I spent, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're worth about, actually, so in this case it's less efficient, it looks like, because it would take 10 characters to get there. Is that right? Let me pull this up. So yeah. So anyways, what you want to do is you want to check to see if you can push a few of these guys to get your extra level, because sometimes that's just more efficient. Actually, this is why I was doing it wrong. So let's see, how many would it take to get to 34? It would take me, okay, it takes me 4 2-star characters, which are worth about, it's like 2.5k each, so it's pretty close to a wash here, but you do want to check that. Sometimes you can do it like with 1 or 2 of these guys and get your level, and you'll save yourself a scroll. That's sort of what I was driving out there. So let's go ahead and throw these scrolls on her. There is a slight bug in the game right now if you click too fast. It doesn't count them all up sometimes. Make sure you're doing that. I don't think it actually punishes you when you do it, but there you go. So I would say, like, if I'm playing the game and I have it to the side, like on a separate screen, or if I'm playing on my phone and I'm just kind of watching the tube, something like that. It really adds up over time. You'll end up like 6, 7, 8 scrolls in no time, and off you go. Plus, you'll get things like you'll get gear drops, you'll get those scrolls. I think this morning I had like 2 blessed summoning scrolls, and I think I had like 13 of these. So those were all just drops, through going through the dungeon system. So there you go. So that's sort of my take on a way to level up your characters. Every little bit helps if you don't have the dungeon pass, which it's up to you. I had it. I purchased it without kind of thinking through it. But if you have it and you want to take advantage, but even if you don't, that 30 plus the other 15 is like almost 50% increase in your drops. And if you're able to complete the higher level tier dungeons, especially as you go up the things, I mean, some of these drop rates go up considerably. Look at these XP scrolls. If you could farm up a team with 3 characters, and then you have 60% plus another 50% on top of that, you're talking about 90% of the time you're going to get a scroll at tier 9. Now, the trick is, can you get through that efficiently? Can you get through it reliably? Can you get so you're not spending basically 20 minutes trying to get through it versus 5, where you could run, maybe 5, one of these versus or 5 of these versus one of these. You got to kind of trade those things off. But anyways, I think it's a good start to the way you might want to level up your characters. I've had great success with it. I feel like I'm getting characters leveled up quicker and easier. I feel like I'm making use of that pass. I also feel like I'm using my keys better, and I'm getting more out of them by leveling up these characters and getting the benefits of doing it. So leave your tips down below. If you found a different way to farm, or if you have a different way of going through the system and kind of raising your characters, I'd love to know how you do it. I think everybody's kind of learning the system these days and trying to figure out what's the best way to get those characters to max tier and start building those teams for PvP and all those good things. So thanks for watching. Give me a subscribe and a like down below. We'll keep making these videos, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks.